My question is this: if there was really a better, smarter, safer way to financially evaluate income property, to know how and why real estate works in a financial plan, and to learn how to find, acquire, and manage real estate from afar, would you want to know how? And would that be a good use of your next 30 minutes of our time together if you learned how? You agree? Okay, good, because that's what we're going to do. That's what we're absolutely going to do. So, I realize now I have this slide in here twice. It's funny. All of us had a little speakers dinner last night, and then we all went home and did our homework and rearranged our entire presentations today. Last night, that happened. But that's okay. You want it to be spontaneous. So I'm your presenter. My name is Randy Luebke. I am actually the co-author of Mark Kohler's most recent book called The Entrepreneur's Guide to Financial Freedom, which is available on Amazon and Audible. And out here we have like a few copies as well. I say that because Mark and I have been working together for about 6 years. And every year for the last 5 years, we do all-day real estate and financial planning training sessions around the country. We do one in Seattle, do one in Chicago, we do one in two in Orange County, where I live down south, and then we do one in Honolulu. So if you guys want to ever travel to Honolulu, right off the whole trip, I'm your ticket, right? So anyway, you're gonna see in the presentation this little book pop up periodically, because I've taken a lot of the information from this presentation that came from this book. And although I won't necessarily go deep on it today, you can read it from the book and go deeper on it yourself. So look for that little book itself. As it says, I'm a registered financial consultant. I'm also an investment advisor representative. I'm a certified wealth protection planner and a certified Medicaid planner. I'm a real estate broker. I've been a mortgage broker for 32 years. I'm also a life insurance agent. So basically, I do everything that there is financial except for taxes. And I'm not an attorney, right? That's why I partner with Mark Kohler, because guess what he is? CPA and an attorney. Between the two of us, we can really cover the waterfront. And I think what really sets me aside as a financial advisor is it's not all about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds are viable tools. We like them. They have their purpose. But with a background in real estate and being a real estate investor, I realize that real estate is really a wonderful financial investment. And if you don't believe that, watch the first session because we went really deep on why real estate's a great investment. In fact, we're going to cover that a little bit here in a minute. This is our disclosure, and there's a lot to read here. And again, for those of you that were at the session before, I apologize. For those of you that weren't, I don't want to just gloss over this because I think it's important. I bolded out the part that I really want you to pay attention to. Investments are subject to risk, including market and interest rate fluctuations. Investors can and do lose money, and unless otherwise noted, they're not guaranteed. My point is this: any investment, whether it's in real estate or anything that you're getting involved with, it's important to make a knowledge and informed decision, right? And that's why you're here for this summit. There's a lot of good speakers. I've been popping in from room to room here, and I'm really looking forward to listening to the full presentations from everybody. How about that guy this morning, by the way? Wasn't he awesome? He was so inspiring, intimidating, too. My God, I don't know. He's got something about him. He's just awesome. But the point, in all seriousness, is these are investments, and we gotta be smart. We gotta know we gotta understand the investment, make good choices and decisions about the investment, or don't do it. You're better to stay on the sidelines. So we talked about in the previous workshop the 3 states of money. Going back to high school, the 3 states of matter, everything could be solid, liquid, or gas. It has to be one of the 3 at the same time. There's no choice. Everything in the universe works that way. Money is the same thing. There's no choice here. Money is going to be spent, loaned out, or invested. Spending has a cost. It's called what? Anybody? When you spend your money, what happens? It's gone, right. When you pay taxes, you spent your money. That money's gone. And the opportunity to make money from that money's gone, and it's gone forever. Right? So there's a cost associated with spending things. When you buy a home and own it free and clear, you financed it. And you financed it 100% with your own money. Right? So whether you put 20% of your money and 80% of somebody else's, or you put 100% of your money, 100% of that purchase is all with finance. That's important. Spending. Lending, we talk about banks and bonds. Again, banks are really good about making us feel really good about doing a really dumb thing. Right? Which is we give them our money for free, right? We lend them our money. We deposit money into our checking account. because we think it's a good thing to do, and they make us feel happy when we make savings, right? And we buy CDs from the bank. All forms of lending to the bank at little or no interest as well, right? By the way, if you look in your wallet and you find greenbacks in there, little dollar bills, what does it say on those little dollar bills? Bill, treasury note. Note is a short-term loan, like a bond. It's just made to the federal government. What rate of interest do you get paid on those greenbacks in your wallet? 0, right? So the point is, and investing means owning, right? So when we buy real estate, we invest in it, we own it. Stocks we own, things you can own, okay? So the point of this is that money has to do something. It never can be never can be anything else but one of these three, and it always has to be one of these three at one time. Does that make sense? 3 states of money. It's in the book. See the book in the corner? It's in the book. We go deeper on it. I'm flying through this part, and there's not a lot of people here, so we probably won't get off on as many tangents as I did last time. But last time, like 5 minutes at the end, I finally got to the point of my whole presentation. So I'm going to get through this recap here. Why do we like real estate? Great rates of return, right? That's the biggest attraction. You can get great rates of return on a real estate investment. Great tax benefits. I'm a financial consultant. I spend a lot of time counseling my clients on how to minimize their tax expenses. I really don't know of another investment that provides as many tax benefits and as good a tax benefits as owning real estate, right? It's just a really great tax tool. We talked a little bit about 1031 exchanges. Everybody familiar with 1031 exchanges, right? Right. Beauty of a 1031 exchange is what? We sell the property that we have a profit. Now we get to kick the can down the road on paying those taxes. And we kick the can and we kick the can, and then what happens eventually? You die. Yes, we die. And it's okay. Well, it's not okay, but you die because it's going to happen. And when it does, all that profit you kick down the road gets to step up in basis. And now that real estate passes to your kids, your heirs, tax-free, right? 1031 is a beautiful thing. We have another tool called the Deferred Sales Trust, which works similarly. And unlike the 1031 exchange, which is limited to real estate, a deferred sales trust can be used for any appreciated asset. So if you have a company that you've grown in value, stocks that's grown in value, artwork, whatever it is, it allows you to let that appreciated asset be sold and then to defer the gains, the taxes, I should say, on those gains into some point in the future. It's called the Deferred Sales Trust. Another good thing we like about real estate is it's multi-generational, right? You buy this piece of property, and if hopefully your kids become interested in real estate and you teach them how it works, you can pass that property down to your kids and their grandkids and your great-grandkids. And how wonderful to continue to build wealth that you can pass on from generation to generation, right? Growing that wealth along the way. And again, when you die, you get to pass it along tax-free to them, generation after generation. And then finally, I think the number one reason that you're here, and the number one reason I find real estate investors across the country are interested in owning real estate is because of control, right? You're in charge. Wall Street, you have no control, right? You go along for the ride. You hope you got on the right bus. You hope it's going to take you to the right place. And if it does, you make money. And if it doesn't, you got off in the wrong place and you get killed, right? It's just, that's the way it works, okay? But with real estate, you have more control. It's up to your smarts, right? Your cunningness, your strength, your willingness to do whatever it takes to make it work. So control is a big thing for real estate investors. They love that. What do we not like about real estate? It's complicated, it's messy, it's expensive, and the biggest thing as a financial advisor, it's illiquid, right? You can't just cash that piece of real estate in tomorrow and get cash flow from it. You have to sell it. You might not be able to sell it because it's a bad market or there's no financing, right? Or there might be something wrong with the property. So real estate is an illiquid investment. And all I can say to that is each one of these 4 things that make it that are not good things about real estate are 4 more good reasons to own it, right? Because if you can deal with the complication and the mess, if you can deal with the amount of money it takes to get into real estate, if you can deal with those things and deal with the illiquidity, then you get to take advantage of those great rates of return and all the stuff on the left side. Real estate's a good investment. Okay, we talked about the stock market, Dow Jones Industrials, S&P 500, and now we're going to talk about financial planning. Okay, I'm a financial planner, registered financial consultant. Most people, when they walk in my office, at least the first time, this is what I see. They have money in their 401ks, their IRAs. They have money locked up in the market, right, in typical securities types investments, and it's tracked. They go to their stockbroker and they go, I went to this seminar in Provo, and it was often this, they said we should invest in real estate. And the guy at Edward Jones says, I can help you with that. We got these REITs, right? And we said, what's that? Well, it's a real estate investment trust. All they do is own real estate. And you know, what is a REIT really? It's a stock, right? It's another security, right? In fact, REITs might even only own mortgages or a mix of both, right? Doesn't make REITs bad. Doesn't make any of this stuff bad just because of it. It's just not owning real estate directly. That's different. That's what you're here for. That's what you're here to do. The money in their company plans, of course, is unless you leave the company, is trapped there, right? You can't get it out until you turn 59 and a half years old, right? Unless you have something called an in-service non-hardship withdrawal privilege. That's a lot to remember. But you can ask your employer, especially if you have a small company 401k plan, you can add a clause to the plan document. It's called an in-service non-hardship withdrawal privilege that allows you to transfer money out before you're 59 and a half years old. Frankly, as a business owner myself, you know, business owner is the sponsor of the 401k plan. Okay, that's important because the sponsor of the 401k plan is responsible for all that money inside the plan. And if the plan loses money or they have bad investments, that employer owner could be sued by the employee. Pretty bad situation. So frankly, if you really think about it, every employer should have an in-service non-hardship withdrawal privilege in their 401k document because they should get that money out of there, right? Let the employee take the deduction, that's what they want, but then let it put it into their own IRA where they can self-direct it and do what they want, right?
Are there penalties to use that?
Good question is, are there penalties to do that? And the answer is absolutely no, right? It's a rollover, just like a rollover when you're 59 and a half or when you have a hardship, like you get fired, right? You leave the company, you get fired, and there's a few other reasons that you could get your money out of the 401k. It's not a taxable event as long as you roll the money from one trustee to the next. Don't touch it. If you do touch it, you gotta get rid of it in 60 days, right? And you only do that once a year. Kind of a dangerous thing. But no, in-service non-hardship withdrawal privilege is not a taxable event. It's just a way out, right? It's just a way out. This is another thing. If you guys are out there looking for money to do investments, and you find people that have money in their 401k, ask them if any of that money came from a previous employer. A lot of people will do that. They'll roll the money from one employer 401k into their new employer's 401k because all that money from their previous employer can be rolled out directly through the in-service non-hardship withdrawal privilege as part of the 401k law. It doesn't have to be in the plan document. That's an important thing to know as well. Okay, so what can we do right now? That's the question to say. This is my problem. My money's stuck in my 401k. What can we do now? I want to know if the real estate I already own is worth keeping, right? A lot of people have purchased real estate along the way and they have it, or maybe they inherited it, but is it really still the right thing to have in their portfolio? All right, so we're going to help you with that. Should I purchase more real estate? And how do I create an ongoing lifetime income stream, which is what I call financial independence? And this is what we talked about at lunch. So, and it's in this book. It's in the book. I don't have a slide, but it's in the book. So, you know, really, I'm going to go off a little bit of a tangent here, but 2-3 generations ago, they didn't need me. They didn't need a financial planner. Grandma, great-grandma, and great-grandpa didn't. Because what did they do? They went to work 20, 30 years for the same employer, 40 years. They retired with what? Pension, right? They had a pension. They had a social security check coming in every month. They probably owned their home free and clear, right? Because they lived in the same home their whole life, right? So they paid that mortgage off, and now they're retiring. So with a little bit of savings and a pension and a social security, and a little bit of savings, no mortgage, they could live a nice, comfortable life for the rest of their life, which, by the way, wasn't all that long. Because that was the other thing that happened during retirement. Grandpa, unfortunately, would pass away about 5 or 10 years after he retired. You know, he retired at 65, and by 70, unfortunately, he was dead, right? Now, Grandma, of course, he got a little bit of life insurance, right? That helped her improve her situation. And then you also got to remember this, since 1945, after World War II, essentially the stock market has gone up in value, right? So the increasing that appreciation of that savings they had, savings rates, you know, I'm old, I confess, I'm old. I'm 60. I'll be 66 in April. I'm bragging about that because I feel pretty good for 66. Okay, but back in 1980, when Jimmy Carter was president, anybody remember that when Jimmy Carter was president? You got to remember that. Yeah, Jimmy Carter, right? So you could go down to your local bank and put money in a checking account, and they were giving you 12% interest in your checking account. You can get a CD for 18%. Yeah. So what happened since then is interest rates have gone down, 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 down. Well, bonds go up, 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 up in value as interest rates go down, 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 down. So grandma had all these bonds that were increasing in value, right? And they got a pretty good coupon, the interest rate anyway. She had her Social Security check going up every year with inflation, right? She had her guaranteed pension for life. She didn't need a financial planner, right? And then when she died, she passed all this stuff on to her kids, and they didn't need one either. Well, no, they did, because what happened just 2 generations ago? How many people have in this room even have parents that retired with a mortgage in place? Right now, there's not a lot of people here, but a lot of people do, and people are living a lot longer, much longer, and because of that, as they live longer, the cost of healthcare gets more and more and more expensive, right? Bonds are, mortgage rates are a type of bond, right? They're the lowest they've been in decades and decades and decades, right? So they don't have the bond prices going up. So they don't have they have volatility in the stock market. Bonds aren't going up in value, right? The cost of living is going up. The cost of healthcare is going up. If they have a mortgage, they have to deal with that too. It's way different now. And the tax situation is far more complicated as well, right? So it's very different, right? So the point of all this is what we care about today is not retirement. It's not about getting that gold watch and getting that pension check, because most people, unless they work for the government, if they're a teacher or a sheriff or they work for the state, they're going to get a pension. All the rest of us, we don't. Ain't going to happen, right? What we want is financial independence. Here's my definition. When the assets you have provide the income you need to live the life you want. Okay? When the assets you have provide the income you need to live the life you want. And you can do that when you're in your 30s. You can do that when you're in your 50s. You can do that when you're in your 60s, right? In other words, you can become financially independent at any age. And if you choose to work, great. If you choose not to work, great, right? We just want to make you financially independent. That's our job, to get you there as fast as we can, okay? So that's the question. What can we do right now to achieve the financial independence? So let's talk about what financial planning is, what financial planners are, and I just kind of go into that a little bit here. This is a local guy here. His name is Carl Richards. I think he's in Park City. Actually, he's a financial advisor, works out of Park City. And he draws these things for the Wall Street Journal. I love them, okay? So because they're so simple, but they tell the story. So this is a traditional financial plan. You make a bunch of assumptions, you wait a long time, and you see what happens, right? So they give the spreadsheets and the colors and the codes and the bar graphs and the charts and this and that and the other stuff, and they give that to you, and you're in your 30s and what, you're going to wait for like 40 years and it's going to look like this, you get a rate of return. That's a financial plan, okay? The problem with that, right, is you're trying to use a linear approach to a non-linear reality, right? Life doesn't go straight up in a row, right? Life has ups and downs. Things happen, good things and bad happen in their life. So using that linear approach, that traditional financial planning approach, just doesn't work. A real financial plan is that intersection between your money and your life. What's your situation? I have clients that have longevity in their family. My wife's grandmother lived to be 103 years old. There's somebody on the planet today, statistically, that's going to be 150 years old. That person is alive. We don't know where, we don't know what sex they are, but that person to be 150 years old is there. That's you? Dude. You're going to need a lot of money. Yeah. So really, the point is it's more personal, right? Financial planning is very personal. It's not about spreadsheets and bars and graphs. It's about listening to what your reality is, what your family situation is. That's another thing. Grandma and grandpa probably were married their whole life too, 40, 50, 60 years, right? They might have been married. Today, people might have been married 2 or 3 times. They might have a couple, sets of kids and crazy ex-spouses and who knows what's going on. There's just all this stuff that filters into financial planning today. It's pretty fun, actually. That's why I keep doing that, right? The the financial planning process. So I, out of necessity, created my own financial planning process. I looked at the CFP model, the Certified Financial Planner model, which is like the model to go by, and I didn't like it. And the primary reason I didn't like it is, again, the reason we're all here. It was really still all about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. It really was. And I didn't feel that it covered all of the important parts of what a financial plan is. So let me describe for you what they are. The 4x4 stands for 4 essential elements and 4 sequential steps. These are the elements. So we have income independence, asset protection, legacy preservation, and tax optimization. Let me walk you through each one of those. Income independence is what we just talked about 5 minutes ago. The assets you have provide the income you need to live the life you want, right? That's a primary goal. We got to get enough assets together to provide that ongoing lifetime income for you. Asset protection, when you get stuff, people want to take it from you. They do, right? And I'm not talking necessarily about a guy with a gun, but there's people that'll swindle your money. There's the IRS that always has their hand out, right? There's people that will take your money, and we're going to help you protect it. By the way, those of you that are younger, you know what your biggest asset is? Anyone? Well, it's your ability to make money, right? It's your ability to think. Your ability to work and earn money and provide for you and your family is the biggest asset a lot of young folks have, right? And you need to be able to protect that. That's part of asset protection as well. So it's not just about corporations and LLCs and all that kind of stuff. We use those as tools, but it's much more. It's much broader than that. Legacy preservation, that's passing things down to our heirs, right? How do we take, we talked about real estate being a multi-generational investment. Real estate's one of those things we have to do. The problem is, Mark, I was just watching Mark. Anybody see Mark Kohler thing? Isn't he great? He's fun. He's a lot of fun, when you die, you don't have any control over your money because you're dead, right? But you can have control over it through a trust, right? You can, like Mark does with the little cloth thing, you can control your assets through the grave. And that's important too, because again, you want to protect your kids from creditors. You want to protect your kids from yourselves, from them making bad financial decisions, right? But for me, it's also but also about what if you're not dead, but you're not able to make decisions about your money? In other words, what if you had a stroke, right? Or what if you developed Alzheimer's or dementia, right? So now you're alive. That's kind of like the worst case scenario. Now you're alive. People are making decisions about you and your money, and you can't do anything about it unless you prepared for it. You want to do it. That's one of the elements of a good financial plan is the legacy preservation. And then finally, tax optimization. Taxes are life's single biggest expense, period. You will spend more on taxes in your life on anything, more than your mortgage, more than your credit card interest, more than whatever it is you think you're spending money on. Uncle Sam's always got his hand out, right? And so we want to help you to minimize those taxes, because what did I say about the 3 states of money, right? Spend, lend, and invest, right? And when you pay taxes, you're spending money, it's gone forever, right? So we want to be able to help you keep more of that money by optimizing your taxes. Those are the 4 elements. How do we do that? We use these 4 sequential steps. Step number 1, optimize everything. What does that mean? You're a little older than, say, the guy behind you, right? That's a given, okay? And you got, right there. You probably have a whole bunch of different things that you've accumulated, different strategies, different investment, different things that have gone on in your life than you do, or certainly somebody coming right out of college, right? So what we do is we lay all our cards on the table. We want to see all the different assets you have. We want to see all the different liabilities you have as well. Mortgages, student loans, cars, leases, all those types of things. And then we consolidate, simplify, right? And put all those things together so that you have a system that you can not only manage, but you know that everything you have is doing all it can for you. That's optimization, step 1. By the way, that can be something that takes us a month to do together, or it could take us a year. It just depends on what you got going on. If you own businesses and what have you, a lot of real estate, it can get more complicated. But that's the first step. The second step is I want you to eliminate debt. Anybody Dave Ramsey fan in here? Dave? Yeah, I like Dave. I like Dave a lot. I do. You'll see a lot of Dave Ramsey in my stuff here because he influenced me early on as well. I like to think that I've taken a lot of what Dave does and I've made it actually better, right? Because Dave actually poo-poos me. I've heard of, not me personally, but he talks about, financial gurus that talk about 2 kinds of debt. Dave, there's 2 kinds of debt, okay? There's good debt and there's bad debt. There's good debt, which I call productive debt, and there's bad debt I call reductive debt. Reductive debt is debt you use to acquire things that usually get consumed or depreciate in value, right? So you buy a car, goes down in value. You buy a boat, goes down in value. You go out to dinner, you go on a trip. Whatever it is you put on that credit card that you bought that doesn't produce income, depreciates, goes down in value, and you have debt for it, bad debt. You want it all to go away, right? Student loans, leases, car loans, credit cards. By the way, as a financial planner, if I'm going to lose somebody as a client, this is where I lose them, right? Because I see it all the time. People come in, believe it or not, $70, $80, $100, $120,000 worth of credit card debt. Can you imagine? Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I do see people coming more and more often with huge student loans, too, huge student loans. I had one guy just recently, $500,000 in student loans. You know, as a doctor, and you can actually afford it, you know, because he's going to make about $1 million a year. But what's worse is the person that has $150,000 student loan got a, you know, like what do you call it? Help me, I'm having a senior moment. You know, a degree that's not going to make any money. Basically, they're going to make $40,000 a year, right? And they have $150,000 of student loan debt, right? It's just that these are all bad debts. We want those gone, right? And so we put people on a debt plan to accelerate those debts. We use a technique called snowballing, which is Dave Ramsey, and we make that debt go away as fast as we can. And again, a lot of people that I meet don't want to do that. You know, it's like the guy this morning. You know, his legs cramped up and he wanted to lay down and not move. But with the debt, we got to make the debt go away, because if the debt doesn't go away, then all that money that's going to service the debt can't go into their financial independence. So we have fights over that, right? And like I said, this is a place where I'll lose people, because, you know, they want to get to step 4, which is to save and invest, right? Mark likes to say, you know, that's like, you know, I want to get to the dessert tray right away. That's the dessert tray, the fun stuff, right? Paying off debt isn't fun, especially when I tell them, guess what? You know, we can get you out of debt in just like 2 years. And they're like, you know, depressed. But when they look at their credit card statement, if they look at the minimum payment, they see that they're going to get out of debt in about 20 years if they pay those minimum payments, right? So 2 is better than 20, right? Pretty simple. Anyway, we get out of debt. And then the third thing is we want to establish significant liquid cash reserves. And I think there's a slide in here. We're going to go in a little deeper with that. So I'll save that for a moment. And then again, save and invest. So 4 steps, 4 elements. This is what a financial plan should look like, okay? Financial planner. A real financial planner is a fiduciary consultant and coach. What is a fiduciary? Tony Robbins wrote 2 books. Boy, that's a really small picture. 2 books recently. And he really uncovered a whole lot of stuff in there, which I was pretty happy to see. What he found was that 93% of the, quote, financial planners work for broker-dealers, right? Which means that they're held to what's called not a fiduciary, but a suitability standard. Right? Now, what does that mean? A suitability standard means I can recommend that you should buy this investment, invest your money into this particular investment, and if it goes south and you lose all your money, you can't sue me, as long as you can afford the loss. So if you can take the hit, I did my duty, okay? Fiduciary can't do that. A fiduciary has to always do what's in your best interest. That doesn't make us, you know, God. It doesn't make us anybody that's smarter than the next guy down the street, but it does make us accountable to make a decision, not based on my commission, but based on what's best for you, right? So a real financial planner, first of all, should be a fiduciary, right? They should always be acting in your best interest, and most people don't even know that. Their advisor's not a fiduciary. They work for a broker-dealer, and they're responsible primarily to their employer. You know, consultant and coach, again, a consultant is about analyzing the situation and helping you figure out ways to get it done. That's what consultants do. Here's your problem. How do we fix it? And then the coach helps you along the way, right, to make sure that it happens. I put this is on our website too, and you can read it. This is too small to read, I understand that. But I went through Tony's book, and I found his 7 characteristics of the ideal. You know, this is a great thing to take to your financial advisor. Say, argue this, argue that, argue that. And Tony must have called me before he wrote the book, because I hit all 7 of them, right? Good thing, good thing. Okay, next thing, before we get into the actual numbers part of it, this is another thing I like to walk my clients through, called the perfect investment, okay? And I just ask them, look, if I had an investment, it was 100% safe and 100% liquid, it gave you 100% rate of returns on your money, and it was 100% tax efficient. So you got a tax deduction when you put it in, it grew tax deferred, and you got to pull out 100% tax free. Pretty good, right? And you don't have to do anything for it either. 100% passive. How many guys would want to invest in that? Isn't everybody, right? Isn't that what everybody wants? That is the perfect investment, and it doesn't exist. It absolutely doesn't exist. So the question is, if it doesn't exist, you know you're going to compromise on something. What are you willing to give up, right? If I put my money into real estate, what am I going to give up mostly? Liquidity, right? I'm going to give up liquidity. If I put my money in a checking account, what am I going to give up? Rate of return and tax efficiency. Because even if I did get interest on that money, it would be taxed, right? So you're always going to give up something in any investment. What are you willing to give up? Okay, that's a good paradigm to look at investments, right? To help you understand what you're doing. More depth in the book, right? There's a little book there. More depth on that in the book. This is a list. Mark Kohler said, "Hey, can you give people examples?" So I put this little matrix together of all the different types of investments I could think of. So here's checking, savings, money market accounts, stocks, bonds, commodities, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, income property notes, life insurance, businesses, annuities. And again, whether the state is lending, investing, it tells you what the state is, and whether you can see none of them here are perfect, right? Income property, almost, right? Almost. It's the liquidity, right, that you're giving up. No investment perfect. No investment perfect. You always got to give up something. This is not in our book. It's almost there. We just didn't have quite time to get it in the book itself. But this is a matrix, because when you start out investing, we have to build the foundation, right, of where we invest. So I don't know if you can read this, but down here I have a Roth IRA and a CALI. Now I'm assuming I'm starting with a young person for this purpose of the matrix. And if you're older and have more money, you may be up here somewhere. But the idea of a Roth is that you pay the taxes today, right? And then the money goes in there and it grows tax deferred and you can take it out tax free. That's pretty cool, right? Problem is with the formula, you may remember this, I think, from like junior high school math, algebra, but remember A times B times C equals C times B times A? Remember that at all? So 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6, 3 times 2 times 1 equals 6. Okay, so let's pretend A is the tax you pay on your money going in, and B is the interest you earn on that money over time, and then C is the tax you pay when you take the money out. Okay, so I start with $100,000. Okay, and I'm going to put it in a traditional 401k. I get the whole $100,000 that goes in. Why? Because A, the tax I pay up front is 0, right? Because it's all deferred. So my $100,000 goes into my 401k. Now let's say over time $100,000 becomes $200,000, doubles in value, okay? And now I'm going to start withdrawing the money, C, and I'm going to pay a 25% tax. So my $100,000 went in intact. Everybody got that, right? And it doubled to $200,000, and now I'm going to pay a 25% tax when I take it out. How much do I get to take out? Anyone? $150,000, right? 25% tax. So I got $150,000 of spendable money net. Okay, Roth. $100,000, 25% tax, because we're going to keep the taxes the same. Okay, how much goes into my Roth? $75,000. $75,000 doubles to $150,000. Do I pay any tax when I take it out? No. What do I got? $150,000. Wow, they're equal. They're equal. You get that? The Roth and the 401k are exactly equal. So if I can't have a change in my tax rate when I take the money out, a Roth doesn't necessarily a magic bullet that's going to make you all kinds of money. It doesn't matter, right? So if I believe my taxes will be lower when I take the money out, I'm better off putting it in pre-tax today. If I think the taxes are going to be higher tomorrow, then I'm better off paying the taxes today, getting it over with, and then withdrawing it without paying taxes on it. Does that make sense? Right? No magic bullet. Now, who knows if taxes will be higher or lower in the future? Anyone? No one, right? I mean, you got a government that's in debt over its head, right? So we got that, right? The likelihood is taxes will be higher, but the reality is none of us really know. So what the solution for me is diversify, right? Diversify taxes, just like you would any investment. And so you might have some money in Roth, and you might have some money in Roth-like investments. This CALI is a cash accumulation life insurance policy, which works just like a Roth. The benefit of the CALI, though, actually, let me put it this way. We love the Roth because we can put the money in and it grows tax deferred, comes out tax free. Problem is we can't take it out of that until we're 59 and a half, or we're going to get some penalties, right? And you got 5 years and a few other things. Plus, once you take it out, you can't put it back in. Plus, if you make too much money, you can't put it in the first place, right? So the CALI doesn't have any of those restrictions. You can put the money in today. You can take it out tomorrow. You can put it back in the next day. You can make $1 million a year, right? And you still have the ability to let that money grow tax deferred and pull it out tax free anytime you want it. So I put it down at the bottom because it's a great place to start for somebody that's younger. We use CALIs in a lot of different ways, but that's one way. And then you see the next level up. I put IRA, I put some Roth conversions. I don't advocate Roth conversions across the board, again, for the reasons I just told you. Unless you know that your taxes are going to be your taxes are going to be different in the future than they are today, a Roth conversion may not be a good idea ever, right? And then it's a good time to start investing in property real early, right? Income property. You may actually, I put primary residence here, but a lot of my clients will invest in income property before they even own their home. They're renters, okay? They're renting property, but they're buying investment properties to rent to others, right? Why? Because they want to create financial independence. They want to create that asset that provides the ongoing income so someday they won't have to work. And you work your way up the matrix, and we have some really good fancy things, cash balance, and I know I got 10 minutes left, and I'll get through this, but 401k, we like it better than the IRA because you're able to put away a lot more money, right? And you can do it more tax efficiently, dollar for dollar. You're still, between the 401k and the profit sharing plan, you're limited to about $60,000 a year. But when you add on what's called a cash balance plan, which is a special kind of defined benefit plan, now we can deduct $200,000-$300,000 a year. That's significant, right? $200,000-$300,000 of pre-tax money going into your retirement plan that you can self-direct. That's a big deal. In the captive insurance company, you can put over $2 million a year, tax deferred, and anyway, lots of money. So this is the matrix, okay? And it's not in the book, but if you want this, I'll email it to you. Just send me an email that says matrix, okay? I'll send that to you. So now we got to get into the real reason I brought you guys here. So this is a spreadsheet that I created for my clients that come to me, and and this particular client had a bunch of rental properties already. So the first thing they wanted to know was, should they keep them, right? So you missed the first session on how to evaluate real estate, so unfortunately you're not going to get this, but we put the properties in here and we do a quick evaluation on RV factor, and it tells us whether we should keep this property or get rid of this property, whether we should take equity out of it and put it into more properties or not, right? So it's a quick and dirty evaluation of their entire real estate portfolio, which we pull off their tax return. Now I'm going to let me just kind of go back here. Let's see, we have 6 properties of rentals, and then we have a primary residence with a first and a second on it. Got that? Now, what can we do? So we have the value of the primary residence, $400,000, and they owe $287,000 on it. I'm going to say they have $125,000 in cash investments earning 2%. They have a 401k of $250,000 earning 5%, maybe. They have $995,000 of rental properties. That's giving them $7,375 of rent per month. Not bad. They owe $546,000. Their average interest rate that we got through that previous spreadsheet, 5.85%. Their average term left on their mortgages are 25 years. Okay. All looks pretty good, looks pretty normal. They have altogether $470,410 tied up in total equity in that property, in those properties. A lot of equity in that real estate, right? So scroll down to the bottom here, and we can evaluate this. Right now, with that $7,862 a year is providing them a 1.7% return on their investment. Not that good, really, right? Because what's happened is they bought good properties, and then they appreciated in value. So all that equity is not earning them any interest anymore. They're getting a principal reduction, $6,700 a year. They have depreciation, and you put it all together, and this little portfolio is giving them about a 4.6% rate of return on their money. So that's all the money they have in real estate, all the money in their 401k, all the money they have in savings. What can we do? Let's see what the potential would be. Okay? So we take that $995,000 of real estate, and hypothetically, we're going to sell it all. Right? Now, we're not going to really do that. We just want to show what you could do. And we're going to pay 8% selling costs to do that. So 6% real estate commission, 2% costs. And we're going to pay off the loans, and we're going to have $368,685. Instead of those properties, the average RV factor, I think, was below 0.7%. It was a pretty low RV rent to value, for those that missed the first section. The gross rents divided by the value of the property. We're going to repurchase more properties, but with a higher RV factor of 1%. And we're only going to put a 25% down payment. So we're going to leverage up. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. We're going to leverage up our investment. Why? Because that leverage is going to increase our rate of return and actually reduce our risk in owning these properties. Why is that? Because we're going to have more cash so we can set in cash reserves. We're going to have less equity for some lawsuit potential, so we get asset protection there. And we get to buy more real estate, which is going to give us more diversification because we own more properties to get more sources of rent from. So all those reasons advocate, let's put a smaller down payment and buy more properties. How many more properties are we going to buy? $1,140,000 worth of real estate, okay? Remember, we had almost $1 million. Now we're going to get $140,000 more with an RV factor of 1. Now let's look at what that does to our rate of return. And again, I'm skipping through all the details of the calculations because it was in the first session. You can watch that first session to see how I came up with these final numbers. But what I did is I took away 25% of the gross rents, right, just right off the top, and paid for the new mortgage at 5.5%. And here's what happens. My cash flow went from $7,000 to $27,000. And I'm now getting a 7.4% cash-on-cash rate of return. My principal reduction went up to $10,000 a year, 2.9%. My depreciation, because I went from properties that had high land values to properties that had high building values, because the land I can't depreciate, went to $33,000 a year, guaranteed by the government for 27 and a half years, right? Whether I have a tenant in there or not, I'm going to get this income. That's another 9% a year. Put that together, have no appreciation. Here's what I'm looking at. 19.3% on that money that was sitting in that real estate. $71,000 a year. Pretty significant change. This is taking the real estate and taking a haircut on all the selling costs and transforming it. And then I go, but wait, there's more, because what if we took the house and pulled a little bit of equity out there, say a 75% loan to value, if we could earn 19.3% on that excess equity, that's another $2,300. What if we took the liquid cash reserves from $125,000 down to 100, from 125 to 100? And what if we took a loan on our 401k, our money trapped in our 401k, right? We can take a loan of $50,000, pay ourselves back. Remember, all the interest that's on that 401k loan that you're paying is going back to you, right? Who's paying the interest on that 401k loan? Your tenant, right? Because we bought real estate with all that money. So now I have another $8,324. So what we did is we transformed that to $14,869 of income. Same net worth, $935,300, but my return went from $40,000 a year, 4.3%. Remember, that's everything. Real estate, money in the bank, money in the 401k, to $86,000 a year with a 9.2% average rate of return. And we still have 25% equity in our home. We still have half of our money sitting in our 401k. We still have a lot, 25% equity in the properties we had. Now, is this the right thing to do? Probably not. But is it a possibility? Absolutely. And that's what I show my clients. Before you ask this question, because I only got 3 minutes, but I have the next session. All right, great. So let me just roll back to here. So again, what I'm showing you is possibilities. What I'm showing you is something that Merrill Lynch will never show you, right? Ain't going to happen. So let me flip back to the PowerPoint here and come back up. And then we'll take questions because I'm the next speaker, so I can talk as long as I want. Okay, so takeaways from session 2. There's no perfect investment, including real estate. It's not a perfect investment. A financial plan is a process. It's not a sales pitch. And unfortunately, a lot of financial plans are about buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, life insurance. That's all it comes back to. It's really about you and your life. A financial planner is a fiduciary, a consultant, and a coach. You can, and most important, you can really live the life you want. This kind of ties in with the guy this morning. You can really live the life you want tomorrow if you start to make better, smarter, safer financial choices and decisions today. If you want to walk out of here with one thing, that's the best thing to walk out of here. Now, Corey is handing out a financial assessment. This is my little, giveaway to you. A couple things. We have about 20 copies of the Mark Kohler, Randy Luebke book out there still to sell. They're $20 a piece. I'll be happy to autograph it for you, and I think Mark's still here, and he'll do the same. You're all going to get a financial independence toolkit, which is it's a great gift. You're going to get how to budget. You're going to get how to get rid of your debt. You're going to get 12 different financial guides. And finally, as a consultant, I charge $265 an hour for my time, but everybody for being here is going to get 30 minutes of my time for free. And your ticket for that 30 minutes is to give that assessment to Corey when you leave here today. So if you have time between now and the next session, fill it out. If you don't have time, at least put your name and email on there, and Corey will get back to you, because we want to get that assessment, because when we have that consultation, I want to have a good idea about what's important to you and what we can do to help you. So thank you all for attending, and now I'll take your last question.
So when you looked at the calculations, your rate of return when you moved money from 401k,
Yes.
did you account for the lost gains that you would have received in 401k?
Yeah, the question was, when I took the money out of the 401k, did I account for the money that was lost because I was the rate of return on the money in the 401k was 5%, but now it's going to get 19.3%. So it's actually, you're going to make more money because I took it out. What I thought you were going to ask me is, did I account for the loan? And I did, right? Because the loan is 5%, and I even took it out and pretended you weren't going to get it. But the truth of the matter is that 5% that you pay in interest goes right back to you. Yeah, so there wasn't a loss, it was actually a gain. And the more money I could have taken out, the more money I could have made, which would have made it even better. So now, thank you all for joining me here, and I hope you come back for session 3.